The Minnesota Twins and Seattle Mariners just pulled off a huge trade. Second baseman Jorge Polanco, who had been with the Twins for 10 years, is officially heading to Seattle. The Twins have a lot of depth at second base. Eduardo Julien is one of the top prospects in all of baseball, who exceeded his eligibility in 2023 but has a lot of potential. And former top 5 pick Austin Martin is now on the 40-man roster, giving the Twins some flexibility at the second base position and making Polanco expendable. For the Mariners, they have been looking to cut out their strikeout totals, and Polanco is not a guy who strikes out a ton. They're really trying to rebound after a disappointing 2023 to make the playoffs again in 2024, and they're hoping Jorge Polanco can be a big part of that playoff push in a very competitive AL West. In return, the Twins are getting 2 major leaguers and 2 minor leaguers, so they're getting some variety in their return, and those 4 players are going to shape the future of the Twins as they compete in a very weak AL Central division. In this video, we're going to give gut reaction grades to both sides of these deals and dive into every single player involved in this trade and examine exactly what the value is that they provide to their new teams. If you like this video, the biggest thing you can do is subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. Or give the video a like and comment on the video. It helps my channel grow, shows me that I'm doing a good job, and will get you more baseball content, not only from me, from other awesome baseball content creators out there on YouTube. Without further ado, let's dive into this Jorge Polanco trade and see exactly what the Mariners and Twins gave up and what they're getting back in return. Jorge Polanco has been with the Twins since 2014, which means he's had 10 years in the major leagues. He's currently on a club option for $10,500,000, and in 2025, he'll have another club option for $12 million before being an unrestricted free agent in 2026. That means the Mariners will have him guaranteed this year, and if they want him next year, it'll cost them $12 million, but I really don't see them not picking this up, barring Polanco having a horrible year in 2024. Polanco has 2 years of note when you really look at his stats. 2019 is the first one, where he was an All-Star and finished 13th in AL MVP voting with a .295 batting average, .356 on base, a .121 OPS plus, and he hit 22 home runs. He played third base at the time. He's since moved off that position to second base due to some defensive limitations of just being a player that's played for 10 years. But he's still a solid defender at second base, and those offensive numbers carry very well at a position where second base, you don't need a lot of defense. It's not as valued as a place like catcher or center field, where your offensive value can be a little diminished because your defensive value is so high. Although the 2019 Twins were known for their home runs, and Polanco did contribute 22, he really tore it up in 2021, where he clubbed 33, and that's the other big notable thing, is he made that shift to second base and hit 33 home runs, which is nothing to scoff at for a second baseman. 2021 was the last full year he played, but in 2022, he hit for a .235 batting average, .346 on base, .405 slugging, which adds up to a .105 OPS plus, so he was an above average hitter in 2022. Didn't hit as many home runs, 16, not horrible, but definitely not as close to 33 as he had the year before. But he was a solid hitter who could put positive value on his plate appearances, and that's all you can really ask for. And that's what, right now, the Mariners are looking for out of Jorge Polanco. He was also great at not chasing at pitches. His whiff rate was below average. His K percentage was below average. Chase percentage was in the top 3/4, and he was 98th percentile in his walk percentage at 14.4%. That is just a crazy walk rate. And with the Mariners talking about not wanting to strike out, although he does strike out a little bit, that walk rate is certainly going to help. Granted, there was a little bit of regression towards the mean in 2023, which we'll get to in a second. He still walks enough that he is a above average get on base player. As I mentioned, his walk rate fell a little bit in 2023, and that's to be expected. To have 98th percentile walk rate is not something that's necessarily sustainable. Granted, it was 76th percentile in 2023, 10.5% of all plate appearances ended in a walk for Polanco, but that on-base percentage did fall a little bit, but his OPS plus stayed the same at 115, so he was hitting for a little bit more power, even though the home run total was about the same. The biggest concern is his strikeout rate rose dramatically. It's now 25.7% in 2023. That is 1 out of every 4 plate appearances ending in a strikeout. Now, there are a lot of players who have a higher strikeout rate. He's still right on the cusp of the top 3/4 of all players, but that's still not a great strikeout rate, especially for a team that's claiming that they want to reduce the number of strikeouts in their lineup. It seems like a lot of the moves they've made have been kind of counterintuitive to that this offseason, so that might have just been talk that they were saying at the beginning of the offseason to give fans a little hope. Although there are still some question marks about Polanco and where exactly he's going to fit in Seattle's plans long term, if this is only a rental, at least Mariners fans know that they have a second baseman to play this year and most likely next year as they didn't have a ton of depth at that position to start with. They now have a reliable option to slot into that lineup. Now let's talk about what the Mariners traded away, and there was a big piece, and we'll talk to that when I get to the minor leaguers, which is my favorite part of the video, always most informative, so hopefully you stay around till that. But we have to start with the most interesting piece in this deal, in my opinion, which is Anthony DeSclafani. And I know exactly what you're thinking. What makes Anthony DeSclafani that exciting? He's been somewhat of a journeyman. He played with 3 different teams across his 9 years in the league, and he's not really been a super effective pitcher since coming out of the University of Florida. He's been reliable, but more of a Chad innings eater if you're a foolish baseball fan than anything else. You might be wondering why you're watching Giants highlights when he just got traded away from the Mariners. It's an easy solution to that. He was part of the deal that sent Mitch Haniger back to the Mariners in exchange for Robbie Ray, so he's never suited up for the Seattle Mariners. Therefore, there's no highlights of him. This is an acquisition solely to eat innings, someone that the Mariners can call on a la Jordan Lyles to go and get them outs. Sometimes that's all you can ask for out of a pitcher, and that's what they're hoping to get out of DeSclafani. It might not be a perfect situation because he had some injury concerns, only 33 innings pitched in 2020, 19 in 2022, but beyond that, you look at what he's done, 184, 123, 166, 167. He's put out a lot of innings for the teams he's played on, and although he's just barely put over 120 over the past 2 years, he has the opportunity to eat innings in a Twins rotation that really shouldn't scare a ton of people, and if that's what they're looking for, sometimes that's all you need is someone who can go ahead and get a lot of innings and help maintain your rotation and your bullpen's health as you head into a playoff push. Justin Topa, the next addition in this deal, was ranked as the 14th best AL rookie in 2023 according to MLB Network. What's interesting about that is he made his major league debut in 2020 and has pitched every year since then. So how in the world is he a rookie? To exceed rookie eligibility, you have to pitch for 45 innings in the major league level, and Topa never did that. In 3 seasons with Milwaukee, where he was playing before Seattle this year, he only pitched in 17 1/3 innings, so he really didn't have a ton of experience at the major league level, despite being 29 when he made his debut in 2020. That's right, he was 32 when he finally exceeded rookie eligibility, and after all that time not making a dent in Major League Baseball, he finished as the 14th ranked rookie in all the American League according to MLB Network. That is impressive. He was traded in early January of 2023 from the Brewers to the Mariners for minor leaguer Joseph Hernandez, who hasn't really made a big dent and isn't someone you're going to hear on a ton of prospect lists, so the Mariners definitely got themselves a good deal in this regard. Hernandez played in AA in 2021 but hasn't reached that level since, so it seems that even though they've already traded away, the Mariners got good value in getting a year of Justin Topa and now an attachment to the Jorge Polanco trade. He picked up a couple saves, and what's really impressive is he's kept his walk rate down as well. A 2.3 walk per 9 is definitely solid, and especially for a reliever that got deployed in high leverage situations, a lot of good can come from that. He picked up 3 saves and finished out 14 games, so he definitely can go in the back end, and if that's something that the Twins are looking for, Topa can definitely provide that value. Joan Duran is definitely their closer. I don't think anyone has any doubt about that, but they could definitely use some depth behind him as Griffin Jax and Brock Stewart don't scream potential and dominance to me. Topa isn't dominant as well, but he has the potential to be a very good reliever going forward. And although he is a little bit older, he's going to be 33 next season, he has the potential to be a very nice back-end piece for a Twins team looking to contend. There's some other really good things if you look at his Fangraph page. A 94th percentile xERA, 97th percentile barrel percentage at 3%, 54.7% ground ball percentage, which is in the 94th percentile, 93rd percentile fastball run value, a lot of really, really good things, a lot of red on that StatCast page, and when you see red on a Baseball Savant page, you know things are going well. So Justin Topa, definitely a very interesting name for Twins fans to look at. The biggest name in this deal is by far Gabriel Gonzalez, an outfielding prospect who the Mariners were very high on and prospect evaluators are similarly very excited about. MLB Pipeline has him at 66 overall. He got votes in Baseball America's Top 100 polling from their executives, and ESPN has already said that he is a borderline Top 100 prospect in their eyes as well. He's only 20 years old and he has a very polarizing profile, with scouts having a wide range of expectations about his future can be. Given his age, being very young and relatively small, there's still some question marks, but there's no doubting that the potential is there. You're watching his highlights now, and you can see he has a very smooth swing, and he has the potential to be a very good hitter at the major league level and provide some defensive value in the outfield as well. As I mentioned, he's a very polarizing prospect. Everyone loves what he can do. He put up a .348 batting average in single A this year, and although across 43 games that number plummeted in high A Everett with a .215 batting average and a .290 on base percentage, there's still a lot to like. And again, he's only 20. That's pretty young for high A, especially because that was a second half call-up where he was now facing players who had just got out of college. So those numbers aren't something you should look super deep into, but it is also something that will forever be on his stat line. So it is something that is present there to look at. What's really exciting and hasn't truly been fully captured in MLB Pipeline's update, I don't think, is his power. Right now they have it as average, but across those 40-ish games in high A, he clubbed 9 home runs, and although it is a little bit more of a hitter's environment in that Northwest high A league, that is not something to scoff at. He hit 7 home runs his first 2 years in the minor leagues before jumping to 18 this year, so there's a lot to like about his power profile, and he hits for average. The biggest plus to his game is the fact that he makes a ton of contact. He does have a little bit of swing in his game. He likes to chase a little bit, but when he does chase, he can still hit the ball, foul it off, get a bloop single. Those are all positive values. Putting the ball in play generally is better than striking out. More good things can happen. It's really hard to have good things happen after a strikeout besides like a wild pitch. So in this instance, having that ability is a very good thing. Get the ball in play, have the ball on the ground, make the players make a play. If a fielder can't make a throw, he has decent enough speed that he could beat out an infield single if he needs to. It's not elite speed by any means, but getting the ball in play is a big part of his game. And again, he's only 20. He has a lot of time to develop that swing, refine it. And because he is doing such a good job of getting the ball in play, some of his other underlying swinging issues are kind of hidden, but he's working to improve them. They've been recognized, and the evaluators with the Mariners and now with the Twins understand that he needs to go and develop his swing a little bit more to be successful. So that's what they're going to focus on here. Talk around the industry was that the Mariners were going to put Gonzalez on a very fast track and try and get him quicker up into the higher levels of the minor leagues and see how he does. We'll see if the Twins decide to take that same approach now that he's in their organization, but he will be most likely a solid corner outfielder who has some decent offensive value and some decent defensive value. You get a range on his defensive value too. Some people think he has a really, really good arm and good defenses. Others think he still needs to grow into his body a little more, and then you can make a good decision on whether he'll actually have a decent defense to attribute to his game. But for the most part, he's a corner outfielder. He won't play center, which does hurt his value a little bit, but it's that potential and being so young that is really, really exciting to scouts. The last player in this deal is Darren Bowen, who is a minor league pitcher who the Mariners took in the 13th round of the 2022 MLB draft. He really struggled in college at Division II UNC Pembroke, putting up a 5.43 ERA across his 3 seasons as both a starter and a reliever, but the Mariners liked his underlying peripherals to go ahead and give him a push. What they really liked is he has a fastball with a nice little bit of late run and ride, and he's most likely to add a little velocity as he puts on weight. He's 6'3", 180 right now, so that's definitely a lot of space to put more weight onto that frame. He also has a slider that's above average and a changeup and cutter that can do damage when he has good control of them, but he really doesn't have great control of them, and that's the big hindrance right now is he has a good 4-pitch mix, but needs to learn to control his pitches in order to make a big impact. The Mariners originally tried to start him out as a reliever, but realized that he had some potential to be a starter, which isn't often what you see happen. You often see starters end up not being able to maintain themselves as starters and move to the bullpen due to control issues. But they really like his 4-pitch mix, and they think that he can go and contribute in the rotation. We'll see what the Twins think, but he should open up in high A, and if he can develop a little bit, he has the potential to go ahead and be a solid contributor at the back end of a rotation. He is the definition of athleticism and projection that you see in prospects, where you can see exactly what someone can turn into, but it's a matter of them actually getting there. Most times you don't see players end up meeting that potential. That's just how it is. He's a very high risk prospect, but if he does hit, because every once in a while things do hit, you're going to be rewarded with a solid player who can help contribute innings to your organization. Again, he's still at the lower level of the minors, long way to go, but if he can put things together, get a little bit more control over his changeup and his cutter, and get a little bit more velocity on that fastball, things are going to be looking good for Twins faithful. Again, he needs to put on weight to start, but if he can do that, he has a good enough Mitch to be a back-end starter, someone who can eat innings, a la what Anthony DeSclafani is right now, and contribute to a team in the future. I think this is a very interesting piece, and someone that in a couple of years you're going to never hear from again, or he's going to be manning a major league rotation. Now that we've talked about all the players, let's go ahead and assign trade grades to each team in this deal and see exactly how they made out as we go ahead and review this trade for the first time. For the Mariners, I'm going to give this trade a B. I think they really needed a second baseman, Josh Rojas, who they acquired in the Paulson Wald trade at the 2023 trade deadline. Doesn't look to be like the guy you want starting every day at second base. He's the guy that you really would like to have as a bench bat. So I think getting a second baseman is going to be a good improvement to their team heading into 2024. And Polanco is going to be a solid middle of the bat person who's going to go ahead and contribute at the major league level and give you quality at bats every single day that he is playing. He has had some injury concerns, as I mentioned, which is a little bit hesitant, but if he can go ahead and stay healthy, the Mariners have a good player on their hands, and they have the option to keep him in 2025 as well for that $12 million club option. So I wouldn't be shocked if they extend that. I think that's most likely at this point. Although Polanco does walk a decent amount, they're not getting rid of a ton of strikeouts. 25.7% is not something to scoff at. That is a lot of time to strike out. It's over 1 out of every 4. And Mariners fans were very excited to hear that the team had a direction that they wanted to go. But with the acquisitions of people like Mitch Garver, I just don't see what they were thinking about that. This seems like someone who still strikes out a lot, but contributes in a different way. He's not a huge power hitter. Maybe more of an on-base guy, but if that's what you wanted, say it. They have gone completely against what they've said at the beginning of this offseason, and I'm not in the front office. Maybe their philosophy has changed, but to me, this is not something that I'm super excited about. He's a good second baseman, but in my opinion, there's no way the Mariners, with this current lineup and this current rotation, even though the rotation's really good, make it out of a very, very difficult AL West. Maybe they make the last wild card spot, but I still think that both the Astros and the Rangers are better than them this year and are going to go ahead and claim the AL West and a wildcard spot. So they're going to have some stiff competition along with the AL East, which is going to be fighting for potentially every wildcard spot as well. For the Twins, I'm going to give this a C+. For me, Gabriel Gonzalez just isn't a super exciting prospect. He could end up being a huge dud, and that's not because of his age, but it's just he doesn't have the excitement, the pop, the real big potential, in my opinion, that a top 100 prospect has. I think there is a lot of excitement around him. I think it's fair that he is highly rated, but in my personal opinion, he does not appear in my top 100, probably not even my top 150. He's probably just below that, which is still a decent place to get a prospect, but the farther you go away from the top, the more people start to come together and not have a big differentiation between players. I think there are other players who were close to that range, maybe like a Tyler Locklear or a Felnin Celestine, who could have provided a little bit more value, or maybe they take a gamble on Emerson Hancock. I think there were some interesting names that they could have gotten and maybe gotten a little bit more present value than future value, but maybe the Twins are trying to play the long game. I think they're in a very weak division right now, so push your chips in and go make a playoff push. The Guardians are still kind of hot on their tail. The Royals are getting better. The Tigers and White Sox are doing some interesting things, so make sure that you're going to win this division and get to the playoffs. At the end of the day, anything can happen in the postseason. So get there, make sure you're there, and I don't necessarily love this deal for the Twins. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. There's going to be 2 videos right here on the screen you can watch if you're interested, and there's going to be the baseball right here. Hit that to subscribe. There's also a link in the description below. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video.